Hello, everyone, and welcome to MSUFCU's Financial Education Seminar Series. We're so glad you could join us tonight. These sessions are all about making financial topics feel approachable and giving you tools, tips, and resources that you can actually use in your everyday life. Each event in this series is hosted either by someone from our financial education team or one of our amazing community partners, like tonight, all working together to help you feel more confident in your financial journey. We have a lot of great presentations planned this year, and you can check them all out or register for them by going to msufcu.org/events. Tonight's event is also being recorded, so if you'd like to rewatch it or share it later, you'll find it on our MSUFCU YouTube channel under the seminar series playlist. Throughout the presentation, feel free to drop your questions into the Q&A. There should be a little Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen there, and we'll make sure to get to as many of those as we can after the presentation. And if you run into any tech issues or anything like that, you can go ahead and just message me directly and I'll try to help you there. So I am Therese Bacon and I'll be your facilitator this evening. We're excited to be joined by a fantastic guest, Rachel Lauren, the COO and co-founder of Debbie, one of our featured Fintech partners here at MSUFCU. Debbie's mission is to help people take control of their debt and build stronger financial habits. Rachel, thanks so much for being here tonight. I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself to the audience and maybe tell us a little bit about what inspired you to create Debbie, and then you can jump right into the presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Therese. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Lauren. I'm the co-founder and COO of Debbie Rewards. We started close to 4 years ago at this point, really with a mission to motivate people to reach their financial goals. My co-founder and I, we met in college. She graduated with about $15,000 in credit card debt on top of all of her student loans. And it wasn't for lack of being it wasn't for lack of financial literacy. We both attended NYU Stern School of Business for undergrad. We both studied finance. So she was very, very much financially literate. She just, told herself, hey, I'm going to get a good job after college and I'm going to be able to pay all this off and I'm a broke college student and I just need money now. And, thankfully she was able to do that, but she paid a lot of interest in the process and really was negatively impacted by that. She went to work at Marcus by Goldman Sachs, straight out of school, which is, Goldman Sachs' big, consumer digital bank. It was very beginnings of that, of the bank. And she was really excited at first. She said, yeah, we're going to help democratize financial services, financial products for the average American consumer. We're going to help bring better products to them. We're going to help them get out of debt. And muffled. Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Good. Okay. And she really realized pretty quickly from working there that most of the people had never, most people she was working with had never actually interacted with the average American consumer, the 99%er. They didn't understand the challenges these individuals were going through. They didn't understand the challenges she herself had gone through. So when she looked at the data, she worked on the team that was helping people refinance their credit card debt, right? Take on a loan at a lower interest rate. She was like, yeah, this is going to be great. We're going to help so many people save on interest. And then she saw the data and it showed her that more than 50% of the borrowers were rebounding back to the same level of credit card debt within less than a year of refinancing. So clearly, they were taking on this new loan thinking it's going to solve all my problems and then not actually changing anything. It's almost like dieting, right? You go on a diet thinking it's going to magically solve all of your problems. And then maybe you lose some weight in the first 2 months and then you go off the diet and everything goes back to the way it was, if not sometimes worse. So this was really where we said to ourselves, how can we build a program that's different? How can we, in a world where there's all these credit card rewards points. There's all these things incentivizing us to spend money. How do we build the alternative that can align incentives between consumers and financial institutions? So with that, I will jump into the presentation and kind of show you guys a little bit of our vision and just, maybe teach you a few things. So Therese, everyone, you can see my deck. Okay, wonderful. So hi, welcome to Debbie. I'm going to start with some scary stats. You guys maybe already know these stats. Maybe you don't already know these stats. So I actually think it's probably higher than this, but there's now over $1 trillion in credit card debt balances in the US, which we're at a record high. I think it's actually probably closer to 1.4 trillion or 1.5 trillion. So it's continuing to climb. People are ever reliant on credit cards, and it's continuing to be a trend in the US. On average, Americans only save around 3% of their paycheck each month. So if you look at the personal savings rate in the US, it hovers anywhere between 3 to 5% on average. 40 years ago, it was close to 15 to 20%. So we've really dramatically come down since like the 70s and 80s in terms of how much we're saving. Now, obviously, a lot of that is, inflation has somewhat outpaced our incomes. And so life is more expensive, everything's more expensive, there's less money. But at the same time, there's also lots of conveniences that we now have and, other things that are getting us to want to spend more money. I know myself, like, I earn a pretty good income, but I do have an inflated lifestyle. I probably have areas where I could be spending a lot less and saving a lot more money. I don't need to live in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in New York City, but it is what it is. We make those decisions. But anyway, I'll move on. This is a really interesting stat that I think most people don't know. There's $15 billion that is transferred annually from to the wealthy from the poor or the average through credit card points. So what do I mean by this? So whenever you're swiping your credit card and not making your payments every month, right, or not paying off your statement balance, you're paying interest. That interest is going to paying for somebody's credit card points. So when I say there's this wealth transfer, essentially, people who are actually utilizing their credit card points, who are benefiting from that program, there's $15 billion of value that's being transferred to those people from the ones that are not getting the value from their credit card points, the ones that are paying interest and fees and all of the other stuff. So it's almost like a Robin Hood situation happening on the one hand. So we basically set out to reverse that. So in my view, it's time to reimagine rewards for the 99% and reward people for good money habits. Things like saving, paying off debt, making on-time payments, learning about their money psychology, their money behavior. And that's essentially what the Debbie app does. Before I jump in, I think one of the things that was really critical for us and what we learned early on is what you do is way more important than what you know. And I have a picture here of a salad and a burger to just, prove a point that there have been studies that have been done to show that if you show somebody the calorie count on a particular menu item at a restaurant, they've actually found that there's no statistically significant difference in terms of whether somebody's going to choose the lower caloric option. You'd think, oh, okay, if we show people the information, they'll choose the healthier option. But at the end of the day, if somebody's going to McDonald's to get a burger, they're going to get the burger. And the amount of, maybe they'll get the slightly healthier burger, but they're still going to want it in the same way that, there's all these apps or companies in the physical wellness space that have realized this and said, listen, we can tell people how many calories are in a cookie, and they're still going to want to eat the cookie. So how can we do things differently? And that's really where I think the behavioral psychology education has been, just completely underrated or undervalued in terms of helping. Everyone thinks this is a financial literacy problem, right? Everyone thinks that, Americans just don't know how credit cards work. They don't know how savings works. They don't know how any of these things work. And that's the problem because people are not financially literate. Or maybe we know a lot of things, but it's more about what our day-to-day interactions are. Are we thinking about when we're going to the grocery store? Are we thinking about couponing? Are we thinking about, buying things that are on sale? When we put something in our Amazon cart, are we waiting a few days before we actually hit buy? Are we hitting the buy button right away? Like all of these little micro moments of things that we're always thinking about actually impact the amount of money we spend. So there's all these little rules and psychology tricks we can use to essentially hack our system into spending less money and being able to stretch our dollar. So how does the app work? So essentially, you're able to earn rewards for reaching your money goals. The way it works is you connect all of your accounts inside the Debbie app. We help you set goals across your credit card payoff and savings. So when you make your payments, when you keep your card spend within a certain amount, and you check in, you earn Debbie points. We also help you set savings goals. So if you reach those goals, you'll earn points. You will also earn points for completing our pathway, our curriculum. So the curriculum is very much based off of, if you've ever heard of Noom in the weight loss space, I talk about weight loss a lot because I think there's a lot of parallels. They essentially took that whole curriculum and made it about habit building, unwinding bad habits, how to set smart goals, how not to burn out on that journey, how to make sure that you're building a sustainable kind of process for yourself. And we've taken all that content and reframed it for the world of finance. So I like to call it money therapy. There is financial literacy in there too, but really it's just a comprehensive curriculum that can help you reflect on the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis. And those points actually amount to real cash. So you can level up inside the app. Those levels each have a different cash value, and once you reach your redemption threshold, you're able to cash out those rewards directly into your MSUFCU account. There's other opportunities as well that we give you to earn more points. So we have a Facebook community where we do giveaways on a weekly basis. We have ad hoc different challenges. So we have the Debbie games, which some of you, if you're already in the app, may have been a part of, where the members of the different financial institution partners basically compete against each other in mini challenges, whether those challenges are group savings challenges or referral challenges. I think there is a question in the chat. Oh, Teresa's posting something. That's my bad. The cool thing here is you can see all of your accounts in one place, and you earn bonuses for your activity with MSUFCU. So like I said, we'll send you different challenges to essentially build up your activity with your financial institution partner, which in this case is MSUFCU. And finally, we also have really, MSUFCU has amazing products besides just whatever, product you already have with them. They have a full suite of products from debt refinance to balance transfers to high yield savings accounts. And we want to make sure you guys are aware of everything that MSUFCU has to offer, which is why we help match you to the best product. So from time to time, you'll see offers coming in from Debbie, kind of talking to you and showing you a little bit more about MSUFCU's different product set. So this is the part that makes me really excited. So again, we started this company because we wanted to have a tangible impact on people's day-to-day financial lives. So these are real people that have been on the Debbie app, are still active users. Michelle is somebody who was paying 20% APR on a loan. She was paying an incredibly high interest rate. We helped her refinance down to 9% with her Debbie partner. Gina did not have an emergency fund, and she was able to save $1,000 in less than 6 months. She had literally zero in her account when she started with Debbie. And Brian, who had $3,000 in credit card debt, and he paid that off in less than 6 months as well. Some of the other things we offer that are part of being a Debbie member. I think I mentioned already a little bit about the community, but essentially we have a really awesome Facebook community. At this point, it's close to 15,000 people in that community across the entire U.S. Not all MSUFCU members. You've got people across all of our different partners. Maybe it's we should create an MSUFCU specific group. We can see we're working on creating niche Facebook groups. We can decide that later. We offer a ton of short form content on our social media channels, events and pop-ups. So you may from time to time, if you are on campus, see us on campus. We have in the past also offered non-cash prizes, and I think we're going to continue to expand this. So, if you think about, again, the way credit card rewards are structured today, you don't just earn cash, you can earn travel miles, and you can earn potentially awesome dinners or giveaways or other things. And so as we expand our rewards ecosystem, that's really where we want to go, is we want to offer, for people who historically have not been able to get these amazing prizes, to be able to win things like sweet tickets to the Detroit Tigers, which is actually, this is what this picture is. So one of our partners was able to sponsor tickets, and one, lucky Debbie user who, racked up enough points was able to get suite tickets, which we're super proud of. And then we've got also long form content on our blog if you guys want to dig into that. Excuse me, I cough when I talk too much. But anyway, I'd love for you guys to get started. If you haven't already, this QR code, if you scan it, will take you to the MSUFCU specific page. You will get your first $5 when you sign up. Obviously, you have to reach your redemption threshold, so it's a little bit of a boost to get you closer to that threshold. But I have every faith in you guys that you will get there. I am going to pause here and see if you guys have any questions for me. I'm happy to dive into any topics from how to set goals, what's the best way to set goals, to, how do I set up a budget? What's the best way for me to think about that, to, if I have savings, where should I put those dollars? So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I'll pause here for a second.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'll give everyone a minute to type in those questions. If you have anything for Rachel, she'll be happy to answer that while we have her on the call here. So I know you said, psychology plays a big part of this, and when you created it, is there like, and I forgot, I did download the app like years ago, but I forget how it started, when it starts asking you, does it like take you through like a psychology type of quiz at
Yeah.
first, so it knows kind of who you are as a person and how you view money and things?
Yes, this is a great question. It's actually our very first exercise is what's your why? So every single person I think that ever goes on any sort of journey to change something about their life should ask themselves this question: is what's your why? What's the reason why you're doing this? Because without that, it's really hard to stay motivated. So that first exercise, we ask you, what's your why 3 times? Because usually, again, back to behavioral psychology, when you ask yourself once, it's usually not the right answer. You ask yourself, you dig deeper, twice, 3 times to figure out what's really the reason why you want to save or pay off your debt or invest or whatever it is your financial goal is. And that's, once you've set that why, that's a really great North Star and motivator to help you keep you there. A lot of times people will say, they want to feel financially secure. But really, the reason why they want to feel financially secure is because they have kids that they're taking care of. Or, they say, oh, it's because I want to save up for a home. And the reason why they want to save up for a home is because they want to feel safe, right? They don't feel safe in their current environment. They're moving around. It feels there's a lot of instability. And so really digging down into what that why is, I think has been really powerful for people. Does
Thank
Debbie
you.
show
Yeah, I
your
love
credit score? That is a good question. So we do have an optional feature for you to pull your credit report. Through email, we do send like a credit monitoring report where you can see your score, and then also what are the qualifiers essentially to be able to, or what are the things that can get you qualified for better credit products. So we do have that as an optional feature. I forget exactly how you would unlock it, but if you're interested, I can find out with my team and make sure that you can unlock that feature.
Yeah, I love that feature because, like people see their credit score and they know they have a lot of debt, but like what are the specific things? I like when when apps like these can actually tell you those things. What can I change today that's actually going to impact my credit score for the better, right? So that is a huge help, I think. Instead of people just kind of giving up when they know they have a lot of debt
Yeah,
or their score is dropping more and more month over month, right? So yeah, like what can I do to change this?
yeah. It's
Kind of,
not just,
yeah,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry, I want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
It's not also just knowing like what to do to change it. The other thing that it's helpful with is sometimes you don't know what a lender is looking for.
Mhm.
Because it's not just the credit score. People think, oh, I have a good credit score, people will approve me. It's not just the credit score that they're looking at. So the other things that we'll show you is what's your debt to income ratio. That's a big factor that a lot of
Mhm.
lenders and credit unions will look at to see if you're qualified. That is not necessarily reflective of your credit
True.
score.
Yeah.
We'll show you there's other metrics that will show you to see, okay, like where do you stack up relative to what the banks are typically looking for you
Mhm.
to get approved. So it's just
Yeah.
some more context.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I know you've probably heard a lot of feedback from, people that have used your app and everything, but what's like the most common habit that people can change, like, today or, this week or to kind of help make that biggest impact on their debt?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing that we see people really change is just being more conscious spenders. So I don't love the word budgeting. Actually, I hate the word budgeting because most people hate budgeting and they'll do it once and then they won't like look at it ever or they won't ever want to do it. And what we found is that even just being conscious of your spending, you don't have to like go in and categorize everything and write down exactly how much you spend in every category. If you're even looking at your transactions on a regular basis, let's say weekly or biweekly, and you know, okay, like I recognize this transaction, I don't recognize this transaction, or like I feel good about this transaction, I don't feel good about this transaction. That we've like done the tests to see like, is there a correlation between people who do that and their outcomes versus people who actually do budgeting and their outcomes? There's almost no difference. Meaning, as long as you're conscious of your spending, like you're basically 90% of the way there. So my co-founder, like she and I are both very different. I love budgeting. So I use Rocket Money like for all of my like to categorize because we don't do that inside the app, though eventually hopefully we will. So I do all of my categorization and checking everything, whatever. She hates that. So she just likes to check her transactions to see like, okay, is this something I didn't need to spend money on? And
Hmm.
we're kind of, we basically are in the same place. So
Yep. Yeah, that's always one of the things, as a financial educator when I'm out talking to people, like, we think like needs versus wants. That's something we teach like kindergartners, but really like you need to be reminded as
yeah,
even in your 30s and 40s, 20s, 30s and 40s,
yeah.
right?
And the way we like to think about it, we actually have a module on this called happy versus sad spend. So
Mm.
we like to think about it as happy versus sad as opposed to needs versus wants because
Ah,
your daily coffee, let's say that you buy at Starbucks, might be a want and not a need. But maybe for you, like that's the thing that brings you joy in your life and you need that daily cup of coffee and you're willing to give up your grandmother for that, whatever, I'm being hyperbolic here, but like
yeah,
you're willing to give up a lot to have that daily coffee
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
okay. Like nobody's telling you that like you have to give up that coffee or your avocado toast or whatever it is you want. Like
yeah,
nobody's telling you you have to give that up because it's a want and it's not a need. That's fine, you can have your daily coffee, but if there isn't room in the budget, figure out what is the thing that doesn't make you happy, right, that you're spending money on and you're like, actually this is silly, I don't like this. Let me take this out of my budget. So that's why
Mhm.
we like to frame it more as happy versus sad. So almost like if you think about what's her name, the organizer lady, does this bring you
Oh yeah,
joy?
yes, yeah.
I
I
forget
forget
her
her
name.
name too, but yeah, I know that show. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I like how you phrased that. Maybe I'm gonna start using that in my own
Marie
presentations.
Kondo. It's
Yes, that's her name. Yes.
yeah, Marie Kondoing your finances. Does this thing bring you joy?
Yes, I love that. Looks
Um,
like we have another question there. Yep.
Yes. Does Debbie cover all forms of debt, medical and others? Unfortunately, we do not cover all forms of debt. Today, it is primarily unsecured debt, so credit cards, personal loans. We will eventually have more, like we'll start covering more. I think medical is tough because we don't have the data, right?
Mm.
Your hospital unfortunately is not listed on Plaid, and so we don't get your medical bills, and we don't do manual kind of porting of the data. So any kind of debt that we can get from your servicers or your banks or your credit unions is the debt that we will eventually cover. But today,
Okay, so it's just only whatever you connect
whatever
to
you're able to connect,
the app.
correct,
Okay,
correct,
gotcha.
because we don't
Okay.
we don't do kind of manual checking.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Another question I just had. So, a lot of people, like when I'm working with people, I feel like I hear them say, like, I have too much debt, like I can't save anything. Like they think they can't start saving that emergency fund or whatever because they, have this insurmountable amount of debt. How does the app kind of work with that
Yeah,
mindset?
so that's why we have both the savings and the debt streak at the same time. That I think it's super important as people think about. Yes, while you're correct that your monthly payments are really really high and it might be really tough for you to save, The challenge is when you're not saving anything at all and you're not building up towards an emergency fund, what will inevitably happen is 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 12 months from now, you will have an unexpected expense and you won't have the money to pay for it because you didn't have anything in the emergency fund. And then you'll dip back into the credit cards or whatever else it was that you used, and then you'll be back exactly where you started 6, 9, 12 months ago.
Right.
So this is the challenge. So when somebody has no emergency fund at all, what we like to recommend is figure out, you don't have to throw all of your money at your debt. Figure out how you can kind of be, making your payments to make sure you're not going delinquent, and at least starting to save, I don't know, 2%, 3% of your paycheck towards your savings. Again, even if it's like $5 or $10, just starting that habit is really important, because if you're not doing it at all, it's going to be really tough to start kind of down the road, especially when something happens.
Yes.
So that's just my 2 cents. But obviously, yeah, if your payments are really, really high, it's tough. You may have to go to, your creditors, or figure out, how to refinance, or figure out to reduce those monthly payments so that you can start building up payments.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Well, yeah, this has been some great information. So yes, everyone that's here. Oh, we have another question.
Another
I
question.
won't cut it off yet. Go ahead.
You need to put money down first once you start the Debbie app. When you say put money down first once you start the Debbie, meaning you have to pay for it? No, the app is free. So if there is maybe a clarification to the question, but you can save as much or as little as you want. It's also, there is no account inside Debbie, meaning you're not putting money into your Debbie balance. That's money we're giving you. You continue to use your MSUFCU account exactly the way you're using it today. We track the data on our side via open banking. So you're not actually making any payments or sending any money through the Debbie app. You're doing it on your current digital banking platform with MSUFCU or whatever, whatever bank or, whatever credit card you have, whatever you're using. We just, that demo that I showed you that showed the Debbie balance is not, that's just money that is your money that we give you as rewards.
Right. That's just money that you're pushing out.
Yes.
You're not taking anything
I'm
in.
not,
Yes.
yeah. Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. So if you want to get some more information or download the app, go to joindebbie.com /MSUFCU. Or you can just go to the MSUFCU website and put Debbie into the search bar, and it will bring you there as well. Also, there's that QR code in front of you. So yes, definitely. I think this is a great idea for everyone. I know I've used it. We were talking about this within my department in financial education at MSUFCU during our last meeting, and someone was like, I haven't checked that Debbie in a while, and they reopened the app and they had like $48 balance. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm only $2 away from earning. So yeah, so it is worth it. And I had feedback from another member that said they had just finally reached their $50 threshold and were able to transfer that money into their account. So yes, this app really does pay you. So along with all those other great perks, which I didn't even realize that you guys did that, like the tickets to the Tigers game. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Well,
yeah.
hopefully MSUFCU will also do an amazing sponsorship and
Right. Yeah.
give
Yeah.
us some cool prizes to give out. So
Cool. Yes, I will pass that along. It looks like we had another question here. In
sure.
signing up for Debbie, it asks if we have an access code.
You could just put MSUFCU in there.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Well, I think that covers all the questions for tonight. So, if anyone has any other questions after we get off the call here, feel free to email me, or I can put you in touch with Rachel, and we'd be happy to help you with any other questions that you have concerning the app. So, definitely look into a little bit more and check our other events that are coming up at msufcu.org/events. We do a lot of different seminars about tackling debt and different things like that. So if that is something that interests you, definitely check the website and get registered for some upcoming webinars.
Yeah. And if you
Um,
guys have any trouble, I just put the email of our help desk. Jessica, who runs our support, super, super responsive. So you could just,
Perfect.
hit her up if you have any issues, and I will let her know that you're reaching out.
Okay, sounds good. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for being here tonight. As you exit out of the Zoom, there will be a short survey that will pop up. So go ahead and take that just so we can get your feedback on tonight's session. If you have any other topics that you'd like us to cover in seminar series, you can also put that feedback in there. We'd love to hear from you there. So go ahead and take that survey and definitely, hopefully, we'll see you at another seminar series event soon. Thank you for being with us again, Rachel, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
Yes. Thank you, Tariq.
All right, have a good night.
Bye, you too.
Bye, everyone.